You're on the best of the morning. Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy. 99X.
People turn to us for a lot of different things. They want to hear music. They want to hear information, what's going on in town, all that kind of stuff. But when the serious issues, when the big stories break, that's when the listeners turn to us because we really are
the news monster.
Dateline, East Atlanta. We go to Mr. George Rattery. Is that pronounced right? Rattery?
That is correct.
George, how old are you?
79.
79 years old. And you live in, where exactly? What part of town?
It's the southern part of DeKalb County.
Mm-hmm. East Atlanta, is that near Decatur?
Yes, it's south of Decatur.
Okay. And you had an interesting story to tell that, is one of those that you kind of hope and pray never happens to you, but happened to you nonetheless. And when did this happen? It
happened 2 weeks ago tomorrow.
Okay, where were you?
I was in the plaza on the corner of North Decatur Road and DeKalb Industrial Way.
Okay, and what were you doing?
Yeah, what's in that plaza?
There's a large Kroger store and a bunch of other various stores.
Okay.
So
the wife and I had been just finished shopping.
How long you been married?
54 years.
Wow.
Way to go.
54
Congratulations.
years. Did you get, when you had your 50th anniversary, did you get one of those letters from the president?
Nah.
I thought doesn't the president send out letters when couples celebrate their 50th anniversary?
My parents didn't get one.
Really?
He's too busy with other things. He doesn't do that anymore.
Maybe he was busy 4 years ago.
So, George, what were you doing? Grocery shopping at Kroger?
The wife and I had been grocery shopping.
All right.
And we returned to the van. She had to go back in for correction, and I was putting the groceries up. When I finished, I opened both front doors of the van so the wind would blow through while I was waiting.
Right.
I just popped in the driver's seat, sitting there. And this young man hopped in the other side on the seat beside me.
Describe the young man.
Oh, he's looked to be about late 20s. Maybe his early 30s. Wasn't too old. He's slender build.
He just jumped in the car.
Just jumped in the car on the seat.
What did he say to you?
He didn't say much. He looked around at me and said, give me your wallet. And he had his hands down, holding them down low where nobody else in the parking lot was seeing. There plenty of people around.
Was he holding them? Could you see what was in his hand?
Oh, yes. He had a gun sticking out of his hands.
Oh, that's funny.
And he jacked the slide back to put another round in, or put a round in the gun chamber.
Oh, my God.
And he said, give me your wallet. And I told him, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And he said, why? And at the same time, I reached down to my usual place where I keep my gun. And I flipped it out and said, because I'm going to blow your damn head off.
Yeah! All right!
Oh, my God.
He hopped out of the car and just ran toward the back of the van. I jumped out and ran around to head him off.
You ran around
So
and
you-
him?
and he was
George,
gone.
you're 80 years old.
I know.
So when you said you're going to blow his damn head off, he jumped out and ran.
Yes.
And you ran after him.
And I went around the back of the car to head him off. I thought he was heading that way. He wasn't there, so I ran back around the front.
He wasn't
there either. Then I spotted him going across the parking lot. He was really laying them down, too.
No, wait a minute. I like
He
this.
was laying him down.
Running.
He was running. I like George. He wasn't that fast, so I headed him off. Guy's in his 20s. George is 79. Guy wasn't that fast, so I headed him off.
So what happened then?
The kid obviously wasn't prepared to use the gun because had you, when you reached for yours and he ran.
Could you tell if he had a gun? Could you tell if he had anything in the chamber of that gun? I mean,
No, I could not.
Okay, so
what happened? You see him running across the parking lot. Then what did you do?
I picked up the phone and dialed 911, got the operator on the line, gave her the details, and she said the car was on the way, and she asked me a few more questions, and in about 2 minutes, a squad car rolled up with a young officer in it.
Uh-huh.
And I told him what happened, and told him where he had disappeared around the end of the buildings. Another car came up, and they went that direction to see if they could find him. I knew they wouldn't.
Right.
I gave him a description of what he was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked if he had any physical mark, anything that would help. I told them no.
Well, they may have been able to identify him by the crap in his pants.
Well, that is possible.
You know, 'cause I'm sure they were moist.
Did he look like a thug, like a perp, or was he just a normal-looking kid?
He looked like a normal young man.
So, now, a couple
I
of
noticed
things.
him standing over beyond us away when I put the cart in the cart corral
Uh-huh.
and walked back to the car. He was standing over by 2 or 3 little trees that they had planted in the plaza when they...
He was lurking.
And I didn't pay any attention to him. Just none of my business. He was standing there leaning against the tree.
Looking to take advantage of an old man.
Yeah.
Now, a couple of questions. First of all, George, how long have you carried a gun?
Oh, ever since the permits were available, better than 10 years. Probably around 15-something years.
And was this as a result of being a crime victim before?
No, I just had it just in case.
What kind of piece do you have there, George?
It's a little short 38 special.
Have you ever had to use it before?
It's the first time I ever had to pull it out.
And so you carry it on your person at all time?
Yes.
Uh-huh. And because you live in an area, I mean, that part of town can get rough at times, and you never know.
Definitely.
Right.
Now, did your wife miss all of this? She was inside the store?
She came up with the time I was on the phone. And she
Happened so fast.
it did just a matter of seconds.
You know what? It's and it's so good she wasn't there because it could have turned out so differently. I mean, did she at any point afterwards say, George, I'm very happy that you're okay, but when you're looking down the barrel of a gun like that, do me a favor, don't be a hero? In other words, at any point did you think,
No.
maybe
She first thing she said, "Are you all right?"
Right.
I have a heart condition, and she was worried about that.
Guy's got a heart condition. He's
George,
getting in a gunfight, running down a parking lot after a
Some
22-year-old.
hood. Hey, were you ready to pull the trigger,
Oh
George?
yes.
Oh,
If he had raised the gun any higher,
Uh-huh.
the way he had it pointed, it was pointed by a little from the waist down.
Uh-huh.
If he had raised it just a little bit,
So he never aimed it at you?
yes, it was aimed at me, but it ain't
Oh,
in my
yeah.
lower part of my body,
Oh.
and I figured that.
I couldn't have resisted, George. I'd have popped him right there.
You know, actually,
Well,
that's
if
a
all
good
the
question.
paperwork involved with it, I would have.
I mean, I wouldn't have been able to. I would have seen that thing aimed at me, and if I would have grabbed my gun, and I would have just shot him.
You know, that's actually a great point because not that not that we're advocating people should
No.
be shooting people, but
if someone's
a guy had a gun
carjacking you or
pointed,
robbing you,
yeah, a guy had a gun pointed at me, and I had a gun.
a chance to get a gun.
I
right.
would not think twice. In other words, there would be no warning shot if he had a gun. Did you? That never crossed your mind though to just go ahead and shoot? You figured you'd give him a chance to lay down his weapon, or?
Well, it didn't really cross my mind other than I realized that if he had fired, it would have struck me in the lower part of the body,
Right.
and I could get off 3 or 4
Where was
before I
this?
passed
couldn't
out.
think
or
that
anything.
fast. I'm
listen
sorry.
to this. You
You are
don't seem-
sharp.
You don't sound like you were very nervous at all. You sounded like you were very calm and collected, and
No, I was irritated.
Yeah,
you
I
were just
bet.
a little irritated.
Where was
There
your?
you go.
Where exactly was your gun, George? Where you could get it so swiftly?
I keep it in a little, I guess it's a magazine rack right beside my seat.
Uh-huh.
It's a camper van.
Oh, I see.
that wife and I camp occasionally.
And he didn't see you reach for it.
Oh, he probably did, but didn't know what I was reaching for.
Sure. He wouldn't expect.
The wallet.
He didn't
maybe.
expect that.
He did not
Well,
expect.
good work.
it.
I love stories like this, George. When the good guy comes out on top, and I guess no one got hurt, which is even better. But the kid had coming whatever was coming. I mean, and he got away this time. He may think
Unfortunately.
twice about going up and trying to take advantage of someone like you next time.
I hope so.
So I'm guessing that you're, because lately the big discussion in the news has been gun control and eradicating guns. I'm guessing that that you are not for that kind of legislation.
Definitely not.
You don't hear a lot of these stories, and of course, and I, it's a very complicated issue. But the reality is,
Look, as
that
long as there are a lot of guns out there, you need a way to protect yourself if you feel comfortable with it.
that
As
seems
long
to
as
be
there's an element that has no thought about anyone else.
right. I mean, that does seem to be where we're at right now with it. Unfortunately,
I mean, I wish there could be a land where there were no guns except for police, but that's not going to happen.
the cat's kind of really way out of that
Right.
bag. And anyway,
George,
George,
that's a great story.
that's
Someone
a great
you should
story.
know.
Yeah, George Rattery. I mean, thank God you're here to talk to us today.
Well, thank you.
Good work, George.
You're on the best of the morning X. Barnes, Leslie, and Jimmy. 99X.